some go.
You always have to have that like minute or so like warm up while you just like
I'll take
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Are they Imperial credits or Rebel credits?
It's always Rebel.
Okay.
Always Rebel.
Yep.
Just had to
Always
ask.
be the Rebel.
Finding out.
We have that argument on the show all the time. Actually, that's funny that you bring that up. It's interesting. Like when you're young and everyone's like in their edgelord phase, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's all about that. Everyone's all the Empire, and I'm like, as you get older, you realize, wait a minute, the Empire's logo is the gear that grinds the freedom. And then you're like, wait a minute, aren't they space Nazis? And you're like, oh, this feels way dirtier now.
We had a big talk about that literally last week on the podcast, where I was, I actually have like an Imperial bathrobe and it's got a hoodie and everything for it. And, like I was really
That's
down
why
with
you can't shoot straight.
Right. Down. Exactly. That's why I was down with the Empire for so long. But one of the things that Hector brought up was he was like, you never really liked the Empire, though. Nobody ever said like, oh, I want to be a fascist stormtrooper. You were a goth kid growing up. You wanted to be a Sith Lord, which is way different than
right. The Sith is almost like the weapon they wield, or it's like that side. It's almost like the like you can be the evil army, but you're almost like the wizards in the background, just kind of like pulling strings. And in reality, you're not about the fascism. You're just about the control in the
exactly.
It's a totally different. What's going on, Chance? What's going on?
Man.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those conversations. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cool sides to the Empire, but at the same time, then you kind of focus in and go, wait a minute, what is that? Oh no, I don't want to root for space Nazis. What I also find interesting is they've, as we've progressed with Star Wars in general, we're no longer just the British guys. The guys with the accents are the are the villains now. So we're getting villainy in all shapes and sizes,
which is good. Representation matters.
Representation matters, even in evil.
Well, I'm not really going to go there, but apparently, Star Wars fans don't like representation. So.
Oh, buddy. Man. You also gotta love when those particular type of fans show up in the Star Trek fandom, and I'm like, what show are you watching, sir?
Right?
Like, do you understand Star Trek? Like, what's happening here?
they were inclusive before anybody else ever was in the 60s.
Before anyone else was, right? Oh man.
One of the things we were kind of chatting about was last week when we were talking about Star Wars is how Taika Waititi is going to be taking over the new movie, right?
I love Taika.
And like, look, man, if Taika Waititi doesn't make Star Wars like minimum 10% more gay, then he has failed us at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, on the show we've talked a little bit about Flag Means Death.
Yeah, I've been watching
that. I love that show.
So good. So we've got a renew for that for season 2, and that was going to be one of the topics that we were talking about last week. But I'm excited for that.
Hey, Chance, I just got finished watching both Obi-Wan and Ms. Marvel tonight too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
I have not caught up on those. Hector and I catch our shows together because we're a not married couple. So we'll be waiting on those till probably like tomorrow.
I'm a married couple, so we watch them together.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan is not part of the married, but Miss Marvel will be. Obi-Wan I usually watch when the wife goes to sleep.
My wife is actually a big fan of the Ms. Marvel character, has been for years.
Awesome.
And just the way they did her right. And
did they? So I know that they changed her powers a little bit.
They changed the powers, how she got the powers, because in the MCU there's really no Terrigen Mist type of stuff.
Right.
But she does have cosmic powers.
Right.
But just the animation style they use in the live action, it was very much like Into the Spider-Verse type of weirdness and really camera shots. It was really cool.
I love that.
Interesting. Yeah, I noticed a little bit of that in the trailer with the kind of the teenage.
It was very comic booky. It's a very teenagey show, but adults can really like it too.
Well, good. The MCU needed a little bit of that too.
It needs a bit of levity every once in a while. All right, are we ready to jump in and do a show?
Let's jump in. Let's kick this. Let's kick these credits off, and then we'll jump right in. Let's go.
Awesome.
Welcome. Episode, you know what? I'm not even counting this as an episode. This is just a special edition of the Mid-Geek Crisis since I didn't have a show up yesterday. And I've got two wonderful guests with me today. I've got Cary, who's on this side right here from the Metal Geek podcast.
That's right, the Metal Geeks podcast. And MSR Cast, which is my other show.
That's right. So you've got two, and I didn't know which one of you wanted me to represent tonight.
Metal Geeks is fine. I'm happy with that.
MSR's been going for a long time, though, hasn't it? Like you were a podcaster before that was a word, and you were basically you get actual interviews with like actual people that work in the metal industry.
Yes. Our first show was September of 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were but children then.
You're 2005, so you're pretty much right on the cusp of. I mean, you were using podcast, the word podcast.
Yes.
And it's like
when I started,
it was internet radio, right?
No, well, it was podcast because everybody was like, "Do I have to have an iPod?" And it was confusing at first.
Term.
Exactly, that's where podcast is from. Yeah. I heard I used to do a fanzine back in the day called MSR. This is a little history now. Mainstream Resistance was the name of the fanzine. You've seen it. James, you flipped through
long time
ago, and we brought it to the internet. We're trying to figure out what to do, and it just really wasn't going where we wanted to. And the first podcast I ever heard was a couple different Disney parks shows. One was actually an official Disney one, the other one was Inside the Magic, and I was like, you know what, this could work as a heavy metal thing where we could make it into an audio fanzine type of deal, and that's what we did. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, podcasting in general was always felt very geek to me to begin with, right? Because it was already kind of it was pirate radio, it was Empire radio, it was that whole sending your voice out across the
I used to pretend to do that as a kid, actually.
I still have cassette tapes of me pretending to be a DJ, pretending to host a radio show.
Special episode.
But I want nobody to hear what I said on those things.
I think I've got some of my phones. I used to have a tape deck with two tapes, and so I'd play music on one, and then put my microphone and talk. And then I remember having the UHF soundtrack that had a lot of fun sounds and whatnot on it, and I would come in and out. So that's funny that you did that as well.
But Metal Geeks grew from that. Is at one point I had another different co-host, and we just started geeking out too much. We're like, you know what? We need a secondary avenue for this. That's where it came from.
That's awesome.
There we go. Yeah, that's awesome. And James, introduce yourself, please. I've known you for I don't know how many years at this point now. It's almost 20. I gotta be at least 20 years, right?
Years, yeah.
Yeah, we worked together.
My very first big tech job, I worked with you together when we were kids in dial-up, not to date us or anything
dial-up,
like that.
Dial-up support. When you're having to repair windsock. Windows 95. That's where it goes.
I'll promise you, this is the first time I'll do show host voice. Hey everybody, my name is James. I run a little podcast called Goodnight and Good Game. We are a geek news roundup. We pride ourselves on having an NPR fact-based style of podcast. We bring you the facts every week of all the things that are going on in the world of pop culture, that being video games, comic books, TV shows, all of that. I also run a secondary podcast called The Outlaws Outpost. If you are into the Overwatch League, I follow it very closely. I get to interview players from the Houston Outlaws, and we do a lot of talk about just what the Overwatch League is like in general. So that's my host voice being turned on.
That's the plug, man. You've got that down to a science. It was beautiful.
And I've known James for probably longer than 20
just a little bit longer than that. Yeah.
You're like 15 we met or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, this is a crossover. It's a clash. It is geek minds talking. It is man, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a holy week, but not a holy week, right? Like I remember,
it's definitely a holy week because we're talking about not E3.
There's a hole in my heart.
There's definitely a hole in my heart for not having E3, but we get something equivalent-ish.
Yeah. So with the it's almost like it's the Captain Planet feeling, right? Like E3 was this giant amalgamation of everything, and then like the powers went back everywhere, and everyone is now hosting their own thing. Everyone is controlling their media spin, and that's, I guess, important. And not, I do miss the flubs, right? Like I do miss some of the what was it, Ridge Racer and the Peggle and all of those, because now everything's pre-recorded, everything is like perfectly attuned to the public,
sanitized.
Did you
right?
Before we get into all that, did you guys ever go to an E3 live?
I never had a chance to. I've been to a game developers conference, but I've never been to an actual E3.
So I went to E3, never went to one of the big ones. I could never get in. So when E3 was still not public, I was working for Dell at the time, and I was part of the XPS team when they first started making their own gaming machines.
Dude, you're getting a Dell.
Yeah, dude, you were getting a Dell, and it was their XPX line. And so because I was part of their like heavy duty, like second tiered support, I was able to finagle my credentials by getting my manager to sign off on the media release thing, and we mailed it in, and sure enough, I got my badges in, and we were able to go that year. So we walked around and did it, but we could never really get into any of the big talks because everything was like, even when it was still press, it was still hours and hours of invites and time and whatever. But I went once, but never again. I didn't go after it became public.
I've been to PAX South. That was sort of like it.
We definitely have attended a couple of PAXs.
Yeah. So you know, my fan base will know that me and my partner in crime, Pedro, who isn't with us tonight, we go to PAX East every year. So I this past PAX East was total PAX. This was like my 15th PAX in general out of all of them. So
way to PAX it in.
Yeah, PAX it in exactly.
You're PAX not even a dad, Cary.
I don't care.
Where did the jokes come from?
And dad jokes are 100% allowed on this show for sure.
Because you're gonna get them.
Oh, good, excellent. But PAX East has always felt like E3 in the sense that it is huge. It is.
Well, that was the original purpose of PAX, from what I understand. Is it was they wanted to bring E3 to the masses, so that the masses wouldn't go to fucking E3.
Right.
But PAX was always more indie featured, wasn't it? Compared to like
it wasn't right. So if we go back to like the history of what PAX was, PAX, remember, a lot of people don't even understand what it stands for, right?
Penny Arcade, wasn't it?
It's Penny Arcade Expo. And I remember back in 2013, there's a funny story. In 2013, I was walking around PAX East, and there was this ginormous line just forming up at the back of the hall, just this monstrous line. And I was getting into another line, and the line was a shorter line, and it was just to meet Gabe and Tycho, or Mike and Jerry, artist and writer to Penny Arcade. And I turn and look to one of the enforcers over there, and I'm like, "Hey, what's that line over there for? What's that big line over there? Like, is it a meet and greet or something?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's a meet and greet. It's a Markiplier." And I was just like, "Holy God!" And that same year, when I saw that ginormous line, I remember just thinking that I'm like, here's this line, this smaller line to the people that created this convention, and no one even knows who they are anymore. They've outgrown it. And Markiplier had this line that was just monstrous. I mean, it was like 3 hours deep, just to see and take a picture with your favorite YouTuber. And that right there told me, like, these guys created this thing, but no one even cares that they did anymore. Like, they're not. You don't have to be a fan of Penny Arcade to go to PAX. PAX is now E3. Right. It is a new thing just to show up. And like you're stating, E3 was a press show, or was a press show. PAX was indie because it allowed indie developers to kind of get that PAX experience, or that E3 experience, without having to be big yet. But
I had a great time. We went to PAX South twice, right? One, we actually hung out. We're doing interviews, James.
We did.
I remember going up to the
Dreadnought. I believe
we did Dreadnought, yeah. And I remember going up to Insomniac Games. They were there, and they were promoting Song of the Deep. You remember that game?
Yeah.
And I went up to them, like, "Hey, I have this podcast. Can you guys do an interview with me?" And then it took them a few minutes. They're like, "Yeah, let's go." They were doing autographs and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Let's finish this up, and then we'll do an interview." And I got to interview freaking Ted Price. And of course, I was like, I'm the metal guy. I'm like, "So what kind of music are you into?" He's like, "I like heavy metal." I'm like, "Really?" So we talked about Opeth for a while, which is great. You never know. You never know who's a metalhead.
Yeah, you have no idea.
You don't know. And I constantly praise E3 for, or I praise PAX for this in general, just because it's a lot of these indie developers you hang out with. aren't big yet. They're real small. They're just pitching their game. A lot of their a good example is and this is kind of a segue to kind of before all this week. Last week we had a State of Play. That we had the Sony State of Play.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk briefly about that because
yeah, absolutely
shit was
one
that whole thing.
Yeah,
I fell asleep during it. I'll tell you that.
That's wonderful.
I'll be honest.
Good takes. One of the things that I loved about it was that they showed one of these games that I was super excited to kind of see, and I got to play this game in 2020 at PAX East. It's called Season, and it's now considered a I guess Sony must have paid the exclusivity to have it on their console, so it's a console exclusive NPC indie title, and I played it in 2020 and I cried at the booth. I remember vividly playing this game. It was so emotional, so beautiful, so amazing. I mean, I walked out of it and I turned and I shook the hand and talked to that dev for about an hour, and I was just in love with this game. And now I get to see it. Now here we are 2 years later, and it's finally going to launch in the
That's
fall
amazing. I love that.
Big cons. And again, PAX. A lot. I mean,
I don't even think that was on my radar at all.
Oh yeah, so let me pull that trailer up real quick, just because I like to do that on the show. We like to play the
we got video here too. Oh my god!
Wow, you are operating on a different level than us, right? There. We're just like we're random podcasters, y'all. Joe's like, I got some video for y'all.
Yeah, so
oh yes, this is the Miyazaki style gorgeous
to record life at the end of the season.
It's like water paint or something.
For people in the future. She asked us about living together.
And we asked her about traveling alone.
When the season turns, what will remain?
Is that Chidi from The Good
Only
Place?
what she saw.
Looks like it.
What she captured.
She carries the sounds of the season with her.
Everything about this game is so gorgeous. One of the things I didn't notice about it that my co-host was talking about last week was the story of this seems to be like you're collecting stories before the end of the
ride. I got to look in her journal. The world was telling her its secrets. I think she even figured out what will happen to us when the season ends. Is it going? Is it gone?
Not yet.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
yeah. So let me. So you nailed it right there. From the context of that, when I got to play it, I got to talk to the developer, and what the developer was explaining to me in that I played the first like 45-minute demo, which is like you're either a journalist or some sort of like archive collector, and you're sent to this coastal / island town, and the entirety is that there is a tsunami or a flood coming.
Okay.
And it's going to wipe out this entire region. Okay. And this entire region has its own culture. And so when you show up there, your entire purpose is just to talk to. So that old lady sitting there on the field, she's basically like, I'm old, I'm going to die. I don't want to leave my place. I'm going to sit here. So eventually that siren you hear is going to be whatever wave or thing that's going to happen. It's going to wipe her out. She is going to die. And there is a moment where you meet this old man and you run through a whole ritual of a culture and these kind of ruins, and you do this entire like candle lighting ceremony and about the dead and all of this wonderful, beautiful thing. And one of the things in the game that you do is you get the option. You walk up to something like a waterfall, and you get the option of either pull out your microphone and record it so that you can record the sounds of the waterfall of this region because they won't be there anymore, or the crickets of this because this particular sound is not going to be there anymore.
That's sort of sad.
It's beautiful and sad. And so by the end
guys,
of
I'm sad.
I'm sad. And so that's what happened. So at the end of the demo, I mean, I was just literally just like in tears. And so to see this game, this little indie developer go from nothing like running on a PC, having to reboot it to run this like demo to now being on the big stage of the the state of play on Sony is just awesome. That is what going to these big shows and meeting some of these developers is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah,
I'm absolutely excited. What was another big show? What was a big thing that you saw at the state of play that you wanted to talk about?
Everything. Everything.
Street
I'll
Fighter. Can we
I'll
do
run
Street
through the
Fighter?
highlights.
Yeah, go for it.
We'll come back to Street Fighter. Obviously, a big deal. Resident Evil 4, huge deal. Looks amazing.
I love the Resident Evil remakes. And 4 is honestly one of my favorite Resident Evil games of all time. One of my favorite games of all time.
A lot of people are feeling very divisive about it though,
I
because they feel
know.
like they're going to take out the
real
camp.
quick, what do we feel
I've
about
double dipped. I've quadrupled in
who hasn't
on this game. I
Resident
just bought
Evil
it for the
4
Quest a couple months ago.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 has gotten ported to every system since it's released.
If you want the
So-
silly Resident Evil 4, it exists. Let us have serious Resident Evil 4, call it a day, put a pin in it.
So that's my conversation here is this remake is needed only because we've already had the remakes for 1, 2, and 3, right?
Right.
So 4 is the natural progression of this remake and this new engine.
No,
But-
I'm angry
No?
about this. It
What?
should have
So that-
it should have been fucking Code Veronica, my favorite
It
Resident
really-
Evil of all time.
That's what
true.
I was gonna say. Code Veronica is one of those games that completely gets forgotten. I mean, the best version of it, I think, is either a Dreamcast. I think the Dreamcast version. Is one of
Dreamcast
the
Yeah.
best ones.
amazing.
Yeah. But it's also one
Code
of those
Veronica
games that
X.
Mhm.
yeah. We just don't have a proper new. That should have been a remake before 4.
Absolutely.
But
How far do you think they're going to go on the remakes?
I don't know.
I agree on that.
Who
Dino
knows?
Crisis. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the
Who knows?
last Capcom event thing that they showed, this dinosaur game, or I forgot what that was called. But
Oh, yeah.
everyone
The
thought that
not
was going
Dino
to be
Crisis.
The
the
not
Dino
Dino
Crisis,
Crisis.
not Dino Crisis game. Yeah, that was it. I mean,
All they had to do
we're-
was call it Dino Crisis and everybody would have been happy. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, but they didn't. I don't know why. But does Resident Evil 4 need a remake?
No, but yes.
No, but yes. No, but yes. No, but yes. Capitalism.
Do you think they're going to get to
You use the word. You use the word.
Do you think they're gonna
Sorry.
get
Use
the
the
giraffe
word, sir.
blowjob?
Boom.
I'm.
There we
know.
go.
Wait a minute.
There we go. Capitalism, baby. It's killing us. It's killing us. There's nothing greater on this show than talking about capitalism and spending the money.
Listen, y'all. I am not on my own show, which means like host voice is off, and I'm just going to be unhinged this entire however
Please.
long this takes.
Absolutely.
So
That's
we
what-
have 4. What about 5, 6, 7? I mean,
I
are they
mean,
going to do
six could have used to be remade as soon as it came out.
what? The giraffe blowjob?
Yeah.
Yes, or 5, which is what is it?
Boulder
Chris, like,
punching.
boulder punching Chris Redfield, just like he
Yeah.
went from like scrawny guy holding a gun to just like jacked, just like
And if you guys don't know giraffe blowjob, go look at the
go look at the logo.
Yeah,
go look at
there.
the cover art for that game.
Oh God.
So Street
You'll
Fighter
never
6, I'll
unsee
very
it.
briefly touch on Street Fighter 6. I am a big fighting game person. I own
Same,
Fight 6. I've been playing the shit out of Guilty Gear. Everything
yeah.
about Street Fighter 6 says they're making the right moves. They have just not told us the 2 magical words that they need to tell us right now, and that is roll back net code.
I was like,
Tell
I
us
was
roll
thinking
back net code. Roll back net code.
code. Yeah,
I was going to say Blanca, but
Also that.
So let's talk about that real quick. So as soon as that new trailer launched, we had already gotten the teaser about a month ago.
Yeah.
And then we got this new trailer, which is phenomenal. I'm super excited. But right after that trailer launched, apparently the entire roster launched. Leaked.
Elite.
yeah,
It was all
yeah.
leaked. Yeah.
So the entire roster leaked, and it's not a minor leak. It is like, by the way, people that are like testing the alpha have like video capture of like supers and all of
Yeah.
that. I mean, Cammy was confirmed, and not only was she confirmed, she was confirmed in her old and her
Okay,
new
so first
outfit.
off, as somebody who's a Cammy main, can I just say, like, Cammy was already confirmed, but people were pissed off because her new model has pants.
Yeah.
And the only reason people got excited about seeing her EX move leak is that it was the version of her without pants.
Without the pants.
well, you
exactly.
gotta wear pants. It gets cold sometimes.
Yeah, man.
I'm
like,
just saying. She's
I-
from
look,
the UK. They got to wear pants sometimes.
I gotta wear pants. Like, I think it's so stupid. Like, yes, everyone can get the cheesecake outfit and whatever,
Sure,
but I kind
yeah.
of dig the fun new outfits, the
Yeah.
new looks.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing Ryu in the robe.
Ken
like,
has been divorced and lost his kid and is now
Yeah,
homeless in
yeah,
the street.
Yeah, Ken is divorced and lost his kids and living on the streets. And
Are you the
it's
Jedi?
just- Yeah, how dare she have pants?
How dare she?
No, I think this. It's almost. It doesn't feel like a controlled leak, but it's a huge leak. I mean, have seen the entire roster like that is a little.
So I think
So go-
weirdly, you're transitioning a lot into what we are kind of here to talk about today, which is, talking about Non-E3, because one of the shows that is going to be here that we haven't seen yet is the Capcom Showcase. The Capcom Showcase is something that is happening today or is happening this week.
It's happening, yeah.
And we talk a lot about these leaks, but like, what do you think Capcom is going to do when it comes to the Capcom Showcase later this week? I think it's between
June 13th
Monday.
at 3
Okay,
p.m.
Monday.
Pacific. So Monday.
Yeah.
So it's
The
going to be
best time to have a press conference. On,
yeah,
on a
absolutely.
Monday.
When I'm definitely not at work
Monday at 3
doing
p.m.
things.
Pacific.
Right.
So what is that? That is two. So that's 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
I'll be quick about
Definitely
this.
not on my commute from home.
Definitely not on the commute.
So
I feel like maybe their showcase might be a lot of games that might already be showed by everyone else. Like
right.
sometimes
That's kind of what I wanted to get into. And I promise I'm not trying to hijack your show. This is just like natural.
No, please.
For me.
This is what it is. Let's talk about it.
What we have is the PlayStation State of Play that we got to see. And in the State of Play, we got to see Resident Evil 4. We got to see Resident Evil 4 VR being talked about, Resident Evil 8 VR being talked about for PSVR 2. And then we get Street Fighter 6. That's a big Capcom showcase. Now Capcom is saying, hey, we're going to give you a 30 to 40 minute like deep dive into it. Are we expecting more of the same, or are we expecting reveals at that point?
A little bit. I think a little bit of both.
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit of both. Go for it.
Very small reveals.
Mhm.
Maybe Dino Crisis. Come on.
We can only hope. This is in on my show. We don't do theory and speculation except for the final segment. I'm so happy to be on a show where I could just like throw out the wildest speculations, and you guys are like, "Yeah, that's okay. That's fine."
Yeah. I mean, it's how many times I've thrown so many speculation and been like, "Ha I reference episode, episode 96. I talked about this. I called it."
So I think that we will see more of Resident Evil 4. I think that they will. I don't think they're really going to touch on Resident Evil 4 PS2 VR too much because it seemed like that was a very in development thing.
I don't think they're even. I don't think they're ready for PSVR 2 information to really come out yet.
Right, and it's kind of the same thing. It's with Resident Evil 8 VR. That Resident Evil 8 VR already exists. That was just hey, it's being ported to PSVR 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we will get a little bit more of the inside of what is going down in Resident Evil 4. Maybe they'll talk graphical changes. They may talk story changes, saying like, hey guys, we had to make some story changes because short guy in a giant mech really isn't really great for this time period we live in. But
looking at the president's daughter's skirt.
Right. Maybe we don't do that. Maybe we're past that part of our lives. But I do think Street Fighter is going to be a big focal point because even over the course of the week, they've released videos about how they have these new cool commentator features where famous, like actually Evo commentators are going to be, and they'll do commentating like while you play the game, and it's all like done through AI and lots of stuff that we don't like to talk about. Cool, yeah, but it's a really cool little feature. And I think that Street Fighter is and will take front and center on a lot of this. And
everybody can pretend they were a professional.
Right, exactly. Which feels good, man. It does feel good. I've been wanting to go to Evo for years. I know that I'll get swept when I go, but like I just want to go and I have a good time. But being in my living room and having somebody commentate to me like I was at Evo, like it fills that hole for me.
Agreed.
Yeah, as you know, I'm a big fan of like I've talked about it on the show and here you guys I've got a whole arcade in my other room. So I've got like an Astro City, an imported Astro City.
Nice.
I've got a Vuelix with I've got like 15 fight sticks. Like I love fighting games. I love building them. I love the fighting game culture. The fighting game community in general is one of the proto/early esports. Like a lot, how many esports communities have like modeled themselves on the fighting game community. That said, though, just like any other esport community, toxicity has existed, and we've had just recently, up until like last week, before last, we've had giant names that have been around in the fighting game community, kind of like ousted and kicked off, like the Capcom Pro Tour recently. I think Infiltration was one of the big ones, and that's a name that I've been seeing for the past 15 years in the fighting game community, was just kicked off. So like, we've got to get better and grow as a community.
Absolutely.
And everything is kind of nowadays growing.
You can say that for every single
Yeah.
fandom out there. We have to
Yep.
grow. We have to be better than what we are
Star
now.
Wars.
Yeah. You okay there? You all right?
Sorry, I was chugging this claw and just
Little-
Star Wars came out.
Oh, it's
Little-
Star Wars.
little-
Yeah, exactly.
Little dark
What's
side
happening?
lozenge there for you here.
God.
Yeah, there's so many great things, honestly, that are going to be going on over the course of the next week to kind of touch on. Are there any of these showcases that are like really big for y'all that you want to talk about?
Devolver.
Let me show this real quick, just so that some people see one of the big things. The Street Fighter Twitter account has been releasing little tweets here and there about it. This is the versus screen when you pick your players.
Okay, that's weird.
So you get the option to like do like facial like.
Yeah, you get like facial expressions. This is not anything new in the fighting game community. This has existed since like Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, Soul Calibur 2, you whatever button you press, they yell something out.
yeah,
Whatever. That's really cool stuff.
mhm.
Really cool
It's the
stuff.
2v2 that everybody wants to know about.
I don't know if we're gonna get that. Maybe I don't know.
What about
Well,
3v3?
I think we'll know more.
That I'm hoping for. My speculation. And
I will
want
say
for Capcom would
I
be a
don't
Marvel
need
versus
3v3 in my
Yes.
Street Fighter, but yeah, you're absolutely right there, Joe. Like you tell me Marvel versus Capcom, we're going 3v3, we're going old school. I'm locking it in right now.
Yeah, but
Venom, Cammy, and like I don't know, like Mega Man. I don't know, or Dante was good in 2, I guess.
Yep. MVC,
Yeah.
but 3 wasn't that great though.
No, 3 was
No.
not. Was not.
It
It did not. In fact, take me for a ride.
It did not.
3 was better than whatever the next one.
The next one was, yeah, it was Infinite or whatever.
Infinite?
It was
Oh.
that was
yeah.
when we didn't
Forgot
have the
about that.
X-Men license anymore, and we just tried
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
make up for it.
Well, it
That
was
bad.
more not only just not X-Men. It was like Marvel was like, hey, by the way, guys, we're trying to buy this company called Fox. And
Yeah.
we want to make sure that none of their properties are worth anything. So we need to be sure that we've already killed the Fantastic Four on the comic, and the X-Men. We've killed all mutants, and we're just we didn't even talk about mutants and Fantastic Four. So their licenses are dead in the water right now. So can we just like make a game where none of those characters are in it? Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
That's what it turned out to be, right? Like
that's exactly what it turned out to be.
Yeah. So
You hit the nail on the head right there.
yeah, that's what they've done in comics, and so like now we're getting Fantastic Four and all that.
You mean you're going to cancel Fantastic Four, your longest running comic book series?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Okay, so
yeah.
Cary, you were saying that one of the things you're really looking forward to for not E3 is Devolver Digital.
Devolver.
Mhm.
I love Devolver.
I didn't even
Digital.
realize till today that was going to be a thing.
I didn't
I
either.
thought they had canceled.
If you have never seen a Devolver Digital E3 press conference,
You
go to YouTube and look it up because
Go watch them.
they are
They're
phenomenal.
Fantastic. They are fantastic.
They have a storyline, by the way. You can start at the very beginning and work your way through to the
Yes.
modern one, and there is a thorough line through all of their
It's
videos.
a continuing narrative across
Yeah.
every single one. I'm
Yes.
just excited to see where it's going to go,
Where it's
and
going.
I like a lot of the games that they do produce because I support the company
Yeah.
as a whole.
There's a really, so one of the reasons I love Devolver Digital so much is that if you actually go on, I watch a lot of the GDC talks, the Game Developers Conferences talks, and there's a really great game developers conference talk about. It's called "You Don't Need a Publisher," and it's an entire hour dedicated to how you as a game maker can publish your game without needing a publisher. And mind you, it is hosted by the main person at Devolver Digital. He stops midway through his narrative and goes, by the way, I'm probably going to get fired for this, but I'm literally telling you, you don't need us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the kind of company they are.
Yeah, they are, and they have been at every PAX I've been at. Devolver Digital is a phenomenal company. Their developers are right there on the show floor in a t-shirt talking to you. They are pushing like what is it Road to Yumi? They're one of their last release that was on Game Pass and the Kurosawa black and white samurai game.
So gorgeous.
I mean, the developers were there. They were on the floor at PAX East. And as you're picking up the game, they're like, "What did you think?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm the head so-and-so of this and that." And you're like, "What is going on?" And they are that type of company. They're like, "Hey, we've got a show going. let's send the developers out there and make a meet and greet. So Devolver Digital has been fantastic. Gato Roboto is one of my favorites. I love
I was
playing that.
going to mention that game. I love that game.
Yeah, but Gato Roboto is one of my favorites. What's the new one? The satanic little goat one. That's the big deal that everyone's talking about right now.
One that I've been playing is Inscription.
I have not played that yet.
Inscription is one of the best games that I have played in the last several years. Holy fucking shit. Inscription. So, Inscription is a game that the only way I can describe it to you is that it's like Magic the Gathering, but it's a roguelike, but also it's none of those things because halfway through the game it becomes none of those things, but also stays all of those things. Inscription is Magic the Gathering plus Silent Hill plus I don't fucking know what else.
Wow.
If you've ever played the developers like previous titles, I think it was like called Pony Island or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the developer who made these, and like literally there are things that exist in the game. You can get through the whole game just by playing the game, but there's an entire ARG that is laid on top of the game that like you can go and research, and people have an entire Discord based around the ARG that lays on top of this game that ties then to the other games. Like at one point there's a question that's asked, or a statement that's made is like, you have to go back. And I forget what this is in reference to. And people thought it was a reference to like the beginning of Inscription. And they're like, okay, well, I don't see anything that I missed. Like I went back and I tried it again, nothing. And then somebody went back and found the beta of Inscription, which you can still get on itch.io, played the beta of Inscription when it was called, because it's not called Inscription back then. It was called Sacrifices Must Be Made. Played that, which had an update to it recently, which gave a hint to something that you could do in the ARG of Inscription. Inscription is brilliant.
So for those watching, in ARG is augmented reality game. So there's all sorts of it was I guess the best way to put it, it's almost marketing in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
scavenger hunt marketing.
Scavenger hunt marketing. I think the big one was Lost had a few of them. There was a few of them even pre-Lost.
I Love Bees, Halo 2.
Yeah. I Love Bees, Halo 2. And what was the one, you might remember this one, James, early on, right around 9/11, there was the one where you could play, you subscribed online and got the phone call.
Oh my God, you actually remember that.
I thought that was part of it.
No.
They canceled it.
I thought I had hallucinated this game.
No.
Nobody that I've known, I've mentioned it to people that are around our age, and I'm like, there was this ARG, and it was like it was done by EA, I want to say, and
of course,
this is when EA was still good,
not so evil.
Sign up for it. You had to select your level of involvement, and it was like it was either like I just want emails, or I want emails and phone calls, or I will take a phone call in the morning, and like. It was a spy thriller,
right?
And it was a huge investment thing. And we were both working in dial-up at the time, and I was following the projects. I had no idea what an ARG was, but I was fascinated by this thing. But then, like 9/11 happened,
up, and you get phone calls, and the phone calls could come at any time. So you immediately, at first, you have to sign up, and you have to like confirm that you could get a phone call at like 3 o'clock in the morning. They were like, "Hey, by the way, if you play this, just know that you'll get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Are you okay with that?" And if you did that, yes. After 9/11 happened, though, they literally had to like come out and go, "Whoa,
yeah, we can't do that.
We have to stop. We're so sorry." The entirety of this marketing had to be halted because 9/11 and phone calls and all of that, like the weirdness and terrorism was the new thing.
Although there is a rumor that the game still goes to this day. That's an internet rumor. It absolutely does not. They would have canned that shit, but. Yeah, and I wish I could remember what it was called because I'm so glad that somebody else remembers that.
I don't remember this.
I do. I remember it specifically, vividly being, signing up for it and getting that first phone call and then getting a piece of like.
Oh, I never got to play it. So you actually played it.
So they sent out. It was like the first phone call, and then like I got a piece of mail, and then after that it was canceled. So there was no connection to it, and
that's when you had to pay per phone call. You got.
Yeah.
You're really into that game then.
Yeah, I had a phone line I had my own phone line.
900 Geek Crisis.
Oh my God. Man.
So before we move on from Devolver, what are your favorite Devolver games of all time?
Oh God, everything that Devolver does. I mean, honestly, like their whole catalog, because they're so varied
Yeah.
in what they do. And that's the beautiful thing about them, because they are just a publisher, but they're a publisher that actually gives a shit about the games, the content they're working on, all of it.
So I'm going to go ahead and read some of the games that they've really. So Trek to Yuma is the one that I was talking about earlier that I played recently, and I've been loving. Yes, it's out. It's out on Game Pass for sure. So I know that.
I have to download it tonight.
Weird West is another one that they're releasing soon. The one I was talking about earlier with the Satanic Lamb, it's Cult of the Lamb.
Oh, okay. I always wanted to play that one.
Yeah. So that's one that's coming out. Carrion is another one that came out in 2020.
Carrion, that's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I think we would be remiss if we don't talk about one of the greatest games of all time that I've never played, and that is Hatoful Boyfriend, the pigeon dating simulator.
Pigeon dating simulator. I remember that.
I've do that in real life.
My friend Pedro.
Yeah,
they are the publisher for Serious Sam 4,
Hotline Miami.
A lot of Serious Sam games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't forget the Messenger, man.
Yeah, the Messenger, Enter the Gungeon,
Carrion, such an amazing game. One that I haven't played that I've been wanting to is Death's Door.
Yeah, that's a great game.
That's a great one.
It's Zelda with a freaking like raven.
Yeah, it's a raven. That's it. Yeah, it looks so good.
So good.
My favorite is so you want to talk about my favorite game. My favorite Devolver digital published game is Ape Out.
Okay.
Ape Out.
Yeah.
So if you remember that game, it's got the very mod style.
I have that on my Switch.
And I was at PAX when they released that game, like when they announced it, and I
almost went Yas Queen for some reason, but
you should have.
So cool because
it's accepted. This is a safe space.
Every chapter of the game has got a different art style.
Yeah.
So they would change the primary colors and all of that. So it would go from like orange, black, and red to all of a sudden like deep blues. And I mean, it's a beautiful game. The entire premise is you're either a science experiment. It changes per chapter because it's a whole different ape every time. But you're an ape that you bust out of a lab, and as soon as that, you're going through hallways and whatever, and there's people with guns, and so like you're like in the shadows, but it's all flat colored.
And it's like it's almost like an action puzzle game.
Yeah. So let's pull that up real quick just so that we can remember, because that was I
gotta pull my Switch out tonight and play that.
I've been playing a lot of games on my Switch recently.
You have not, or you have?
I have.
But this is you're starting.
Oh, that's right. It was very Hotline Miami, but you're a monkey.
Sure. Yeah. It's a bloody good time.
Yeah, very Hotline Miami. Yeah, I love that.
It almost has like a rhythmic aspect to it, you know?
And like, what a simple concept, but like so visually stunning, but by being so minimalistic at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those games. But again, Devolver Digital. So if anything, if you want to watch that, watch the Devolver Digital event. That is a Thursday, June 9th. So that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So 5 p.m. Central. Go check it out online. We're probably going to get I think we're supposed to get a Suda51 cameo. So his next game was going to show up there, so that's going to be cool.
Love anything with Suda51.
Yeah. Oxenfree 2, the Cub. There's a lot of stuff that they might be pushing in. So again, I'm excited for that. Go check that out tomorrow. So again, Brandon, that's a game that's already out now. Go check it out. Ape Out. It's on Steam. It's on Switch. It's on pretty much every console now. Go check it out. It's got great music. It like you said, it's almost rhythmic as the music feels. It feels like the the motion of the game is matching the music. So
And we'd be remiss if we don't say that they are publishing Return to Monkey Island soon.
That is
yeah,
true.
they are
Yeah.
absolutely. So again,
Yeah.
that is a wonderful publisher. When companies like someone that big, like Return to Monkey Island, can come to them and go, "Hey, by the way, you want to publish our game?"
Mhm.
I mean, that speaks volumes for the type
Yeah,
of
for sure,
and the quality of the game. My other favorite indie developer that I'm looking forward to seeing anything is Annapurna.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Anything by them.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll show up somewhere.
They're
within
they're
the
like the
indie
A24 of the space, basically.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, they do movies as well. So like
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, Annapurna movie? What's going on here?
Yeah.
So
I do want to talk about, since you talked so much about Ape Out, I do want to talk about the giant 400-pound gorilla in the room. And that is,
Are you not talking about me, are you?
bro, I love you. You are a
All right.
beautiful man.
All right.
Please do not,
I'll accept that.
please do not diss my friend that way.
I'll accept
I'd be very upset. The 400-pound gorilla in the room is, of course, the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Because what we have here, and God, I feel so bad because I'm like not trying to hijack your show. I promise. I go into host mode. What we are seeing here is a Microsoft conference and Bethesda conference in the midst, post Microsoft having all of these acquisitions over the last several years. This is the year that everybody's been saying, you have to show us what this investment is paying off.
That's this Sunday, right?
That is Sunday. Sunday is the big
Sunday. Yeah,
10 a.m. Pacific.
10 a.m. Pacific. Yeah.
12
so
p.m.
Sunday.
It's noon. This is an interesting one because they're in the midst. They're in the middle of the Activision Blizzard purchase.
Yep. Which, as a shareholder, I am pro, but as a person, I am morally against. I'm just going to throw that out there. Just
You
so
know,
you know.
You're against yourself.
I'm literally against myself on this one.
I would have been morally against it before all of the Activision Blizzard news from last year, and you know, with the union busting and all of that.
So
But
my moral compass for this is, I do believe that Microsoft would come in and make the positive changes that need to be made, which is why I'm for it. Honestly, as a shareholder, my problem is that they're trying to get the deal pushed through so fast so that the people who did bad things can get away with doing bad things. This is
one of those. This is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like,
yeah.
I think the positivity with
Microsoft
as their
for those of
leadership-
you watching at home, I'm literally sitting in an Overwatch chair. Just let's not hide.
No, not at all. I mean, but I've spoken about it on the show. I'm a fan of. I mean, Blizzard was one of those fringe companies, right? Like when you growing up as a geek, you know, they did no wrong. They were the company that any game they released was like Midas touch. You had StarCraft and Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft was just this ginormous MMORPG with
all the Diablos.
Yeah, all of the Diablos. I mean, you had and then eventually, you know, Overwatch and all of that. And
have you guys played Diablo Mobile?
So good segue there.
We should probably stick to the thing that we need to talk about, not that mess.
Well, we should talk about that mess because that mess kind of launched. Like, it's out. You can go play it.
I did play it because I needed to play it for my show so that I could talk about it
yeah,
honestly
right.
on my
So
show.
on our show, we've got the "Don't you have phones? Don't you have phones?" That was the line that Blizzard was like when everyone was like boo online when they announced it. It's a mobile phone. They're like, "Don't you have phones?" Well, yeah, we do, but they finally admitted that phone probably wouldn't be the only way, so you can actually play it on Windows, I think.
Oh,
yeah. I think you have to pay like $11,000 to get everything open.
No, my friend, it is minimum. I think they calculated it as $110,000 to be able to max your character out. That is what they said.
Wow, that's a bold statement, sir.
Evercrack is better than WoW.
So going into let's cast Blizzard aside because Bobby Kotick deserves no more airtime. I'm sorry. Here we go. Microsoft Bethesda. What we have is Microsoft, who has been buying up a lot of companies over the last 10 years. We're expecting to see something now from them. And then we have Bethesda, whose big thing is the next No Man's Sky, which honestly, from what I've been hearing about No Man's Sky, it's not even compared to what No Man's Sky actually is right now.
Starfield?
Starfield. Yeah, Starfield. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
So here's one of those. I'm gonna put on my fanboy hat a little bit here.
Do it, please.
I have to do it because Microsoft is one of those companies that I back only because I feel like they got, again, fanboy hat. The last generation, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, right? The launch of the Xbox One, they not only did they drop the ball, they dropped it, kicked it, let the other team score with it, right? It's a you couldn't have had the most worst launch than they did. They launched a console $100 more than the competitor, only to force you to get that, that extra connect. It was underpowered compared to the competitor, and not a single game on their Xbox One was technically an exclusive. It was like the console with no exclusivity. Everything that they released was on PC, or they lost all of their exclusivity to other consoles. The Xbox 3, they came from the pedigree that is the Xbox 360. When I say that, even though it had Red Ring of Death, I mean, that was a console that people would go out and they'd get a Red Ring of Death and they'd go out and go buy a new one, even though they knew that they might get a Red Ring of Death again.
I was a manager at GameStop during that period of time.
It was a console like Xbox Live.
It was needed.
No competitor.
It was required.
People say PSN was, competed. It was not. There was no
PSN was trash back then.
Yeah, PSN was trash back then. Xbox Live, their friends group, their community, the Halo community, the games ran better, worked better, the online play, the forum, everything was better on the 360 online wise. People moved over to the Xbox.
So,
and then they were like, no. And they
as a fanboy, then what does Microsoft need to do at this Non-E3 to blow your pants off?
So, as a modern fanboy, I have realized and seen where Microsoft's vision is. Their vision is no longer exclusivity. Let's put that out there. The battle for 2022 in modern gaming is different nowadays. The landscape and the battle that Sony wants to play, Microsoft doesn't want to engage in.
No,
there is no exclusivity anymore. When we talk about games and exclusivity, especially with Sony, I mean, we're seeing it. State of Play. One of the big announcements was Spider-Man. They're
for Windows.
Leading for Windows.
The push to PC.
To push to PC, and everyone can boo and har.
Where's Bloodborne?
Yeah, but guess what, folks? PC is Microsoft, and that means that it's going to be running on a Microsoft system. Like, it's not really, like, you're not going to get it on Linux unless you're running Proton and you're going to be
may you give me 30 seconds of time. May the floor give me 30 seconds of time. I want to give you for those of you who are unfamiliar with me or my show, this is a common topic that we talk about very often, and so here's my 2 cents in the matter. The battle that Sony and Nintendo are fighting are very different. Microsoft is competing against the likes of things like Steam to be the next go-to place to get all software. Hardware for them, it is a known fact in the video game industry that hardware loses you money, but you use it to get all of your first-party titles out.
Right.
Microsoft is moving to a point where they do not care. They are focused on cloud gaming, which is not being discussed very much, but is advancing very, very far. They are working on Game Pass, which is doing very well for them. And all these first-party titles they're getting for Game Pass.
On this show, we talk about Game Pass quite a bit because it is a common theme as being older, not having the money, not having the time, being able to just turn on your Xbox and go, oh, it's Tuesday. What new game showed up on my library?
Now PlayStation is trying to play catch up with that format.
And they are.
Exactly.
But I think that's what we are going to expect to bring it back around to the Xbox Bethesda game show. For Bethesda, it's going to be Starfield. We're going to show some of that off. It's been late enough, sure, whatever. But when it comes to Xbox, it's going to be what is hot and new and on Game Pass. They are, in my opinion, just theory crafting here, they're probably going to have to double down on how they're going to try and fix Halo Infinite again for the third time. We're going to see some Forza, as we always do. We might see a Gears. I feel like it's about time that there may be some Gears coming out.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm feeling like that might be a thing.
For Gears
But I
5
I feel
was
like there might
2
be a
years ago?
collection again, like some sort
Yeah.
of like
But I
collection
feel like for
remastered.
Bethesda will
Remastered, yeah.
really dive into, or sorry, not Bethesda, Microsoft will really dive into, this is all of the companies that we purchased over the last several years. Here are the products that they are working on, and here's what is coming out in the next year and the year after.
So when you sit down and think about what they own now, right? So they own all of the crafts, right? Minecraft, StarCraft, Warcraft.
I was
all of
thinking,
them.
I saw in the movie too, The Craft.
The craft. They might, but it's
Not as
interesting to me
not
that
as good, not as good as Blair Witch 2, honestly.
they own Doom and Quake, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if id Software has anything to show.
That would be fascinating. You know what I would love to see?
Oh, we lost him. He'll come back in.
He wanted to see it so much he like froze.
Machine Gun Games is actually owned by them as well, right? So we have all the Wolfenstein. So there's rumor that we might get Wolfenstein 3 show up again. So I would love for he said he crashed. We'll be right back. But
doing it live.
Yeah, doing it live. That's the way it works. And on this show, everyone's used to the crash and the randomness.
I do have some late breaking news. I just got in an email.
Oh, go for it.
If you are in the Texas area and you want to go to the SeaWorld San Antonio this weekend, there's a free concert from Vanilla Ice. That'll make you happy, right?
Yeah. Wow. All right, Van Winkle.
Late breaking news. I just got
late breaking news. That's great. That's great. No, I mean, I don't know, man. Like we talked before the show started.
Yes,
you are a fan of Microsoft.
I am. I've been a Microsoft. I don't want to say fanboy, but I am a fanboy.
Yeah, no.
But
I mean, I'm only a fanboy for convenience purposes. Like I own all the consoles, and you said you own all the consoles too. Correct. And it's not about, it's where my money, smart investment comes into play, right? Like why, in my side, I'm not going to buy a third-party game when I know that it might show up for Game Pass, so I'll wait. Because I might not invest the time in it. I'm not going to spend $60 on it unless I really like it. And then so Game Pass has been one of those, if an indie game or a title really catches my eye, I'll buy it.
Okay, I see your point. Yeah.
But Game Pass has been one of those places. It's the Netflix, right? It's the, hey, let me catch this movie or this show, and if I like it, I'll buy it. And I'll
it's
own
the Sega channel of the modern age.
It's the Sega channel of the modern age, absolutely.
I am a Sega fan. I mean, I'm Sega Xbox fanboy, but if I have a choice, if a game comes out on both consoles, PlayStation or Xbox, I will buy the Xbox version. Yeah. But I do like some of the first party only PlayStation games. That's why I have a PS5.
I mean, Sony is the king of the single player story driven game.
Totally.
Right? Like, all the Horizon,
and Last of Us, yes,
Uncharted, etc. Yep. I mean, that's where Ratchet they have Clank. Shined. Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man's.
Yep.
There we go.
There he's back.
Apparently, the power of this show was too much for my apartment.
No, that's okay. That's okay. As we were stating, we have
your computer. We were talking about Windows. Your computer freaked out.
Yeah. What was he going to say? Secret sauce. No, on this show, we're no strangers to crashes, only because we do it live, right? So it happens quite often. Once every 2-3 shows, we get a host pop out and pop back in. So that's really okay. There we go. Miles Morales. Yeah, Miles Morales is fire. That's one of those. It's one of those games that, again, it's exclusive to Sony. It's on PC now, but again, it's story-driven, single-player, reason to own a PlayStation console.
We talked about that, but you asked me what are my favorite style of games before we started.
Sure.
I don't have a lot of time as I used to when I wasn't working all the time to play games. So when I sit down to play a game, I want to play a narratively driven game that's going to take me somewhere and it's going to get me involved. I love narrative games. That's why I own a PlayStation 5.
Which is why he has 12 copies of Hentai Simulator on his Steam account.
Go look at my Steam account. You'll see there's only one copy.
But all the mods. We don't know about the mods.
Is there mods for it? I got to look into that. I don't even know what that is. So I'm sorry.
So what I was saying before I left, by the way, is the one thing I would love to see, by the way, and I don't know if it would ever even happen, is a sequel to Wolfenstein.
And
the original Wolfenstein.
Right as you left, I was saying Machine Gun Games is rumored to be announcing a Wolfenstein 3 or a third game. And we did get sort of a sequel we
Yeah.
did get sort of a sequel, right? So we got the twins to grow up.
Oh yeah,
So the sequel aside, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I know that we're talking rumor and speculation and things we want for E3. If you've ever never played the newer Wolfenstein games, they are so very powerful. Not because it is about a Jewish man from Texas who kills Nazis, because that's very relevant right now. But it also very much, the second game talks about these concepts of masculinity and what it means to be a man, and how we shut ourselves off emotionally from the people around us, and the repercussions that can cause to the people around us. And that is such a powerful message that I wish more people would play these games, because like, holy fuck, like I was watching this story unfold when I played the newer Wolfenstein games and went, fuck no, I feel everything that BG's going through right now. This is bullshit. Like, why don't we talk about our fucking feelings?
I'm a Jewish man from Texas, and I love killing Nazis in video games.
There you go. We have the de facto person here.
Are you
Tara
Billy?
Let me reiterate that, in video games.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. And in real life, if you want to, you can. This is the Mid-Geek crisis. This is a safe space. If it's killing Nazis, it's
you punch Nazis in the face all fucking day.
Punch Nazis in the face all day, in live action or in role play.
Only space Nazis, because then they're not going to shoot me. They're not going to hit me.
There you go. Is there anything else you want from the Microsoft showcase? I mean, I feel like we know what to expect.
I don't even know what to expect anymore. Well, I mean, they've already announced that Starfield is delayed for next year.
Yeah.
So it's not coming out this year. I need to know the 20 plus studios. What are they doing? What are they releasing? I want them to kind of just drop the mic and go, this is what this is what the acquisition meant. Yeah. Here are the games, and here's the staple of games that we're getting exclusive to Microsoft or PC. Just
what I want to see? I want to see something good from Rare. They own Rare, and they waste
there you go.
that.
Conker's Battle Royale confirmed.
Yeah, I would love that, but I feel
they
like
can't make a modern Conker's game.
It'll be called Nuts for Ages.
They are just all about Sea of Thieves, and it's not a bad game. It's just
I tried playing it last year, and when they did the free Pirates of the Caribbean DLC, and I was out really quick. I was like, I'm done.
Okay. Can I talk about something that I love? I know that
go for it.
Repeatedly hijacking your show.
No, it is our show tonight.
Thank you. It's our show. I love you guys so much. You guys are so beautiful. I'm so happy that we're here. I know that I said this before the show, but just having the two of you in the same virtual room with me and doing this is just amazing. And it makes me so happy that we can collaborate like this. One of the things I want to talk about.
Be the last.
I hope not.
That reminds me of Vanilla Ice lyric, but I'm not going to do it.
So Jeff Keighley has a best friend, which he's repeatedly emphasized that he has a best friend.
Himself.
Aside from himself. And that is Mr. Hideo Kojima.
Kojima, yes.
And there are two rumors circulating right now around the internet about what could happen at the Non-E3. One of them is the fact that Norman Reedus basically confirmed that Death Stranding 2 is going to happen.
Yeah, we saw that.
Would we see a thing for that? Or two,
Walking Simulator 2.
First off, do not diss that game. I will fight you.
Amazon delivery.
There's another rumor that's been going around for the last couple days, which is a game called Overdose. And it's just a big rumor. They're saying that it's a horror game. It's called Overdose. It's going to star Margaret Qualley, who was in Death Stranding, and it's going to be playable in first and third person. I don't know if this game exists or not, but if it did, I don't know if they have enough time or resources to make that a central point, other than like maybe a very brief trailer, if it even exists. Death Stranding 2 is something that he already did Death Stranding. If he's already been working on it with Norman Reedus, I think it's much more likely we will see what the next part of Death Stranding will be. And I will be here for it, and I will cry, and I will love it, because that game is beautiful and it's magical, and you fucking hate it. You are a bad person.
I don't hate it. How is that? Well, how is that dude going to get the rights back to Metal Gear?
He's not, which is why we just kind of accept it at this point.
So here's the thing. Kojima will, Death Stranding is his new baby. It's weird and it's different and its own thing. Its own thing.
Is it clobbering time? What's going on?
Every
And-
time
and,
we say the term "here's the thing" on the show, we
here's
have
the
that.
thing.
God.
Yeah,
We
here's
also
the
have
thing.
you can't see it. There's a severed hand behind us as well, and we're also going to
The
get a
thing.
copy of the thing to hold up. This is what we do on our live stream. More weird.
Kojima's Death Stranding it's just a weird game all around, but it is 100% Kojima's thing.
It is.
Right? And I think Metal Gear, I think he's pumping the dead corpse of Metal Gear seems like something he doesn't want to do anymore.
No.
I know it was his baby, but I mean, after Pachinko and then the weird Resident Evil looking shooter game thing that they released, what was that? What was the one that they released after that? They released like a weird shooter game afterwards. It was a Metal Gear.
Oh, the zombie one?
The zombie one.
Yeah, Survivor or something like that.
Yeah, it was something weird.
Yeah.
Again, I think he's just like, look, without him coming out to say, because he can't, like, I can't imagine him coming on camera and going, "Hey guys, I know you want me to do Metal Gear. I can't. The property's owned by Konami. Just like
Silent Hill.
Iga can't go and take Castlevania.
Yeah.
He's made Bloodstained. And just like anyone else who wants to make the next spiritual successor to Silent Hill can't make Silent Hill.
Yeah.
This is Konami. It's because Konami doesn't know what to do. Konami owns these fantastic properties.
Yeah.
But all three, and I'm counting Iga, counting Kojima, but all three of the franchises, Silent Hill, Metal Gear, and Castlevania, they have no clue what to do with them.
I would kill for a new Castlevania game. I'd kill for it.
All Konami needs to do.
You said Bloodstained. That's
license their IPs.
Sure.
They could literally like call Capcom on the phone and be like, "Hey Capcom, do you want to license our IP for like $1 million?"
Could you imagine a Resident Evil Silent
Hill? And they'd be like, "Yeah,
like
we will fucking
game?
license that bullshit."
Konami, all they do now is make
Capcom
and like arcade.
Capcom, if they got the offer of being able to license Silent Hill, would be like, "Well, I've got $1 million. We'd like Silent Hill." Click.
I would. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. So
yes, Parasite Eve, please, Jesus Christ, ignore the third one. Please stop sexualizing that character.
James, real quick.
Yes.
Square. Right. So we talked about it on the show.
Squeenix.
Squeenix. A couple weeks ago, but this is a company that like just shed its American/Western franchises. Not all of them, but the majority of them.
Yeah.
And do you? And again, hot take. This is a show about hot takes. A show about speculation, something that you normally don't do in your show. And I've talked about it on this show. Do you think Sony will actually buy Square at some point? I mean,
I could see it.
They have slept with it enough.
Here's why.
Go for it.
Because Square Enix made a dumb decision to sell all of their Western IPs that actually made the money for something that's not going to be worth anything in about 38 hours. And that is NFTs, by the way, if you're not paying attention. If you're not playing the home game, they sold all their
home game.
They sold all their shit so that they could get NFTs and invest in that. And so they sold off all of their Western franchises. So we're talking everything from Legacy of Kain to a Tomb Raider to Deus Ex, all of it.
So
they sold all of it. To THQ, I want to say, I may be incorrect. Please fact check me on that. They sold it.
They sold a bunch of them.
Yeah, to
at least it was an LJN.
To THQ Nordic, I want to say, but I may be incorrect. But they sold all of it, and they sold it but not like a Activision Blizzard amount. And the entire premise behind it was they want to take all of that money and reinvest it in things like NFTs and blockchain games and all this stuff that literally the entire internet's telling everybody is failing right now. Yeah. Why would you do that? But good God, please give the Legacy of Kain license to somebody who deserves it.
Who wants to use it?
So let me read that real quick.
Give it to me.
Total acquisition includes around 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 locations around the world. According to Embracer, the total purchase will be $300 million. On a cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. The deal is expected to close in the second quarter of this financial year between July and September 2022. In a press release, Square Enix said the deal enables the launch of a new business by moving forward with investors in the field including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. It also added, going forward, the company's development function will comprise its studios in Japan, Square Enix external studios, and Square Enix Collective. The company's overseas studios will continue to publish franchises such as Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. So those are the only 3 Western-esque franchises they kept, but they sold Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain. And that's interesting. Because
so that they could invest in the blockchain.
Yep. And again, if you're a fan of the show, you know that we rail on NFTs constantly on this show. So again, it's a common theme on pretty much anybody's podcast at this point, right? Like, we're watching it, we're just like, as techs, we're just kind of going.
They literally like internet explored NFTs. Like, we had already decided as a society that NFTs and blockchain was over, and then like plus
as
2
it was
hour,
dead.
As it was dead. They're just like, hey guys,
dead. You had big companies like MLB and NBA and all of these big like companies going, hey guys, we're gonna invest in NFTs.
Yeah.
Disney's like, we're gonna do NFTs, and we're like, what are you doing?
Seth Green lost all of his rights because of NFTs.
His
all this
Bored
bullshit.
Apes. He can't make his movie, his animated series.
Who? Wait, what?
Seth Green. So Seth Green. So
do you not know about this?
No.
Oh,
so
my
Seth
dude.
Green lost his entire board. He bought a Bored Ape. He bought an ape NFT, and he was basing an entire animated series around this specific Bored Ape. And then he got hacked. The company that the blockchain got hacked, and they stole his Bored Ape. So he no longer owns the intellectual properties to that particular ape. But they were already.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that nobody's talking about. Sorry, this is Salem, by the way. He's here to hang out. If theoretically Seth Green can still do his show about this particular Bored Ape NFT, but if he does, that means that he's admitting to the fact that NFTs have no value, and that he is basically just doing the show because he wants to do the show. So his choice is to double down and not do the show that he's already been working on because he doesn't own the rights. I'm using air quotes, radio. Yeah. Exactly. Or do the show that he's already been working on and say that NFTs are worthless and I can do this show no matter what because NFTs have no value.
Right. Yeah.
It's the so monkey paradox.
It's the Bored Ape paradox.
You should just do Ape Out.
Yeah. Just do Ape Out. That's it. Get Devolver Digital involved. Call it Ape Out.
I just don't understand it. I don't get it. And I think every day I would wake up.
Do you guys, either of you guys own any NFT at all?
No.
Me either.
I've worked in tech for the last 20 years. No.
Yes.
Now, by the way, I will tell you something that hurts. About 5-6 years ago or so, I did some tech work, and I got paid, and I got paid in like 50 Bitcoin. 50. This was back when it was worth absolutely nothing.
Just trash.
And I remember like 6 months later cashing out and taking my money and being done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I'm just like, it's one of those things that you can't even think about the fact that 50 Bitcoin right now would be worth like an astronomical amount.
It's
like,
still worth less than it was 2 days ago, my friend. You're fine.
Don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying. Like it's such a volatile, like
we can regret the past.
We can.
But
you know what I regret? When I was 13, I had my bar mitzvah. Had a family member said, I'm going to buy you 100 shares of stock just to teach you about your stock exchange and all that. Mm-hmm. What do you want to own stock in? I was like, I want Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
And at the time, Marvel Comics was owned by New Line Cinema. And I sold that shit when I got to a certain age, and I regret that.
Sucks, don't it?
Who wouldn't have loved to own Marvel stock when it split?
I'm telling you,
after it was purchased by Disney. Like,
the only stocks that I actually own are video game stocks, and I don't do meme video game stocks. I actually invest in companies I think in. What I'm telling you right now is I own a lot of stocks in Sega because I'm fully planning on either PlayStation or Sony or Microsoft buying out Sega. Like that's my call.
That is a smart investment.
I am
I've
not
seen
a
it-
businessman, but that's what I'm doing because I'm betting that one of the two of them, especially with all the Fantasy Star stuff that they've been doing with Microsoft or whatever they've been working on with Sony, it's going to come back around because right now the hot shit is big companies buying smaller companies, air quotes.
Smaller. God, can you imagine? Could you imagine going?
Chance. I was just about to say I would see Nintendo buying Sega first.
That could happen too. Absolutely.
I was actually thinking that. Yep, exactly right.
Yep.
Nintendo's so funny though, guys. Like, let's be honest. They don't
Nintendo
even-
doesn't get they're 5 years behind at all times. So it's
But
just
Sega
chips.
does
so-
what Nintendo don't.
Yes,
Right,
which is why it was a Genesis game to bring up.
Nintendo doesn't even fully own the Pokemon company, the Monster Company,
Right,
like
yeah.
the Pocket Monster Company. There's all sorts of companies that they own the HAL Laboratories. They don't even fully own
Yeah,
the company
Kirby,
that
yeah.
makes Kirby. Like Nintendo's one of those weird companies where it's almost like we are Nintendo.
But Nintendo could
you
own
are
Sonic.
honored to work for us and make a game.
How
I
great
think
would it be
that
to
is changing.
Nintendo own Sonic?
It is.
Oh yeah. It is changing though. And I only say that because I live in Austin and I have people who work for things like Retro Studios.
Retro
and
Studios, yeah, I
uh,
knew a few people
and
when I used to live
they
out there.
can't say a whole lot to me, but like when we talk about the culture of the company, they're like it's very, very different. I've actually been listening to Reggie's book
Yes,
over the
it's a good
last
book.
week. Fascinating book, especially because I'm in management and I get to get his like hot tips on like how to be a manager. And it's fascinating how he talks about how even the culture when he started at Nintendo to where it is now is very, very vastly different.
Yeah. I know that he had been talking a little bit about after all the allegations and like the whole, the culture and the QA testers and how they were treated and all that. I know that he'd come out, it's very rare for someone. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
You own the physical. Is
Right.
that
I'm doing
actual
audiobook.
paper? Look
Real
at that.
media, man.
Real media.
media.
Time for
Look
real
at
media.
this. I'm constantly talking about real media, and this guy pulls out the freaking book. I
Right.
got the Audible. Oh man, there you go. So I want to hear real quick. Gotham Knights.
Mm.
Let's talk about that real quick. So I know we're gonna get talking about that.
Why?
I want it, but everything that we keep getting reveals about tells me it's not going to be good, and that makes me sad.
I'd rather wait for the Suicide Squad game.
Yeah, it just feels like we're going to get something that we think is cool, and then it's going to have a lot of like buy costumes and buy all these things and do all these.
I'm hoping we don't get that.
I'm hoping that
I'm
we're
hoping
not.
we don't get that. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because on this show, everyone knows I'm a big DC fan.
Yep.
I'm a big DC fan. I love DC over Marvel because the heroes on DC I grew up with. I mean, they're my.
You are honestly kind of the DC to my Marvel. I grew up on the Marvel properties.
Yeah,
I grew up on
we've
Marvel, too.
never disagreed, but like
No,
we are
no,
opposite.
but there's a thing. Like I'm also, and I have to say it just because I'm pre-Disney, pre-MCU, pre-comic book fan, right? And only because I'm in my 40s, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us grew up watching and reading comic books, watching the shows that were pre-Disney and pre all of that. Marvel had no media presence outside of the comic books for a very long time, and DC had the animated series and all of that, and then the DC comic book. So back in the day, the battle was done on paper. It was Marvel and DC as a comic book franchise going back and forth.
Yeah,
and nowadays Marvel is just this ginormous monster of a media thing, and that's an interesting take. I don't think I would ever agree with that. X-Men and Spider-Man animated series are fantastic shows, but I don't think they beat anything compared to like Batman the animated series or Justice League or Superman the animated series or any of that.
Okay, Batman the animated series, maybe not, but X-Men the animated series, the 93 series.
Sure, then 97.
I honestly would put like Batman at the top, the animated series from the 90s, and then like X-Men like immediately under that.
Right, but when you talk about Batman the animated series, are you talking about Batman or are you talking about the entire Diniverse?
It's difficult to say because like I don't know. It's complicated.
Because the Batman the animated series never ended, right? Like Batman the
Yeah.
animated series led into Superman the animated series.
Led into all the really great animated films we've gotten now.
And all of those movies, all of those shows were connected. They were
The
one-
best Batman movie of all time, Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes.
Batman Next to the Phantasm. That's
we
such a
can all
fantastic
agree that DC kills it in animation, and Marvel kills it in
DC
live
has
action.
killed it. DC has killed it. I'll enhance your hot take. DC has been killing it on the TV/serialized franchise way longer than Marvel has.
Mm.
Yes, Marvel has their new shows on Disney Plus now, and they're fantastic. Moon Knight and all of that. But even before all of that, the CW was killing it. I mean, the Arrowverse was fantastic for what it was.
At the
We weren't
beginning,
getting
yes.
anything at the beginning, yes. Nowadays, I mean, but
Those series to me were always too CW, like teenage
right,
romance things.
sure.
It was just
But
too much. for me.
it was because we had to constantly serialize it. Like it was like, how
Sure.
do we take one storyline?
We
and
came
turn it
from the
into
Smallville
20
background.
Right. How do we take it into 22 episodes versus like, hey, let's get this 8-part miniseries on Disney Plus, right?
Oh,
Like,
even though
that's-
some of those were too long too.
even some of those are too long. Yeah, I agree.
Some of the Netflix shows were too long.
Yeah, no, Chance, you're absolutely right. The Arrowverse is cheeseball, but like, I have to give props where props are due when you get DC having to take the risk on creating shows like Legends of the Legends of Tomorrow. You know,
God,
like,
that show is so good. I'm so
It's
angry
so
they
good.
canceled that. 'Cause
it's
I'm like,
so, but I mean, think about it. Like, give me the 5 characters on that show, and they're characters that no one's heard of.
Yeah.
Outside of being a comic book reader, right? Like, they're fantastic, weird, off the bat characters that DC was able to kind of bring into like some sort of pop culture media. And Marvel did that with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? With giving James Gunn the property, and James Gunn did the same thing with Suicide Squad, right? Like
They tried it with Eternals.
They tried it with Eternals and it didn't work very well. Like I think James Gunn has that magical touch. I don't know. Fighting about Marvel versus DC is silly because I think both of them are fantastic pedigree
absolutely.
stables of geekdom where your love is enhanced no matter what what
absolutely.
side you
I hate that fight. Like, we all love the things, like all of the things that are comic book related. Can we just like maybe hug?
Yeah, I'm virtual hug.
Like virtual
Yeah.
hug.
No, sure.
Like, please.
Yeah.
Chance, Chance made a comment about Eternals, I guess to me. I didn't say I hated it. I just said they tried to do this with the characters like they did with Guardians and it just didn't work.
Yeah. Just to kind of end that one, I think Eternals is a good movie, but it's a good movie in the wrong place in the Marvel.
I have a lot to say about
timeline.
the Eternals, but that's an entire separate show for us.
That's an entire different show for sure. We can come back to that one day.
Let's circle back to that.
We'll circle back to that one day. Real quick before we kind of move on, I want to talk about our wish list for this week.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about Marvel DC, it's fantastic. Just today we had a great trailer launch, and we should really talk about that.
Sure, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Black Adam, what have your powers ever given to you? Nothing but heartache.
I was a slave until I died. Then I was reborn a god. My son sacrificed his life to save me. Open fire! War going. Now, I kneel before no one.
War going on outside we ain't safe from.
In this world, there are heroes.
I feel the pain in my city wherever I go.
And there are villains. Heroes don't kill people.
Well, I do. My vision has shown me the future. You have 2 choices. You can be the destroyer of this world. Or you
Tom
can be its
Cruise.
savior. That's up to you.
Behind you!
Did he just catch a rocket?
He got a rocket. on my fresh coat.
I love that Black Adam is keeping the silly tradition of the Shazam movie alive because it's very important, right?
Well,
It
he has
is.
to fight Shazam, right?
Right, at some point.
Eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's just an interesting concept. Like I was expecting more villainy in this trailer.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't know if they're going with.
Maybe they're just going more
full-on-
anti-hero.
They're going full on anti-hero with him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, by the way, you know, do you want to be a hero? And he's like, I'm about my people. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, Black Adam has always been about his people.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Dr. Doom in a
Right.
sense of like mentality, like I'm a king of my people.
Yeah, like Dr. Doom. By the way, if you didn't know, Latveria actually has universal health care. I just want to point that out. That is an actual canon in the comics.
So of
I just wanna
course someone else has it, but we
Just
don't.
just want to point that out. In Latveria,
I'll
Dr.
move
Doom does give
my,
you universal
my
health
top
care.
2 places to live: Canada and then Latveria.
Latveria, there we go. Oh man, could you like honestly, Latveria would be a great place to live because I mean, it's not like I'm a threat to Dr. Doom doesn't care about you if you're not a threat. He loves his people.
Actually,
so
that's the thing is if you go into the lore of Dr. Doom, like the people of Latveria fucking love him.
Love Dr.
Doom. They're just like, he's great. We have a dictator that just gives us everything that we want. We have food, we have shelter, we have universal
healthcare.
It's cool. And occasionally he's like, hey, a country's or superhero is going to try and invade us. Could you kill them? And we're like, fuck yeah, we will, dude.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, dude. I'm a god. Let's do this. So yeah, that's Black Adam. If you're unfamiliar with Black Adam's lore or whatnot, that's kind of.
I don't know much
thing.
about his lore. I thought it was cool that Pierce Brosnan.
So
I don't know why you said
another
like
thing, real quick, before that we share
was
this
Dr.
show.
Fate.
I want to talk about. So like, here's this thing, right? This is a DC movie, and I can almost count the comments that I can go online and hear. Like, first off, we didn't see Dr. Fate in Dr. Fate full garb, right?
Mhm.
So in the full Dr. Fate, but people are gonna be like, he's so much like it's such a rent, like it's like Doctor Strange. I'm like, by the way, Dr. Fate predates Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
By the way,
They're
the
completely
Atom,
different?
the Atom predates Ant-Man. Like you've got these characters.
Yeah.
The problem is with DC is a lot of these characters were like from the 30s and 40s, and we're using them now, and they're making movies.
I don't even want to. I could literally sit here for the next hour and tell you the history of the actual name Captain Marvel, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh, Captain Marvel is always a fun one to kind of like rant about.
No, because it starts with Shazam.
It starts with Shazam,
right? But I don't even want to get into it. We could do a whole other podcast about it.
Exactly. But I mean, that's my point. Like seeing these characters, like I'm excited to see Dr. Fate, you know, and Pierce Brosnan looks fantastic as Dr. Fate. I think he's a great casting. I'm excited to see him in the full gold helmet and like, you know, just floating around as Dr. Fate. It's going to be great. DC bringing the fire today, this week. I'm excited for it. The Rock this has been a passion project for The Rock for the past 5 years or something like that. I mean,
if Pierce Brosnan doesn't say Fate, Dr. Fate,
Fate, I'm Fate, Dr. Fate. If he doesn't say that, that would be great. Oh man. All right. Let's end this show real quick. Let's talk about wish lists real quick before we end it.
Final topic: wish lists for not E3. I'm gonna let y'all go. What do you think, Cary?
We mentioned Castlevania earlier. I know it's a long shot, but I would love to see somebody. I know we mentioned Bloodstained. I love the Bloodstained.
I would
series.
rip my pants off of my physical body and run around the house if they announced another Castlevania game that was not a pachinko porn game. And if you think that's not real, look it up. Actually, don't. If you're at work, do not Google that. It's a real thing.
Yes, it is. Is
it? No, I don't want to.
Oh
Yep,
man,
you don't want to.
I don't even know. Like, I don't know where I stand anymore. Like, we're not. Nintendo is not even. Notice we didn't talk about Nintendo because Nintendo. We know Nintendo does everything in their own. Like,
they're doing their own thing.
They're doing their own thing. So, the transparency of some of these companies and the leaks and all that has made it so that I don't know what to expect anymore. What is it? Redfall. I was excited for that, and that was delayed till next year, just like Starfield.
It was.
So,
I actually follow a lot of the Arcane developers because they're here in Austin with me.
Yep.
And a lot of the stuff they've been talking about is because the reason it was delayed is because the company's trying to take care of them and make sure they have the time and energy they need to create the game without having to crunch or
no crunch time is totally okay with me, and that should always be a positive.
I used to work in some gaming companies, and I definitely experienced some crunch time. I want to see finally more info on the new BioShock.
Yeah.
I want to see a new Max Payne game.
Okay.
A narratively driven Max Payne game would be phenomenal right now.
Okay.
I mean, right now with the sales of Square Enix, I can't. I mean, my footnote wish list item for the past like 20 years has been Legacy of Kain, right? Like I would the day someone picks up the reins of Legacy of Kain, I think I tweeted out Amy Hennig immediately after it was sold. I'm like, hey, look, it was sold. Do you want to go and work for them? Go. You know, you can leave Uncharted.
I own a Soul Reaver. I would have to get up and go dig it out, but I actually own a replica. Metal could actually kill you replica of the Soul Reaver. That's how into Legacy of Kain I am. Like it's a really big thing for me.
I liked that game quite a bit.
Yeah, I think for Square Enix, like when I think about what they've got going on, I think we're going to see more of Final Fantasy 16. That's
Kingdom Hearts 4, or whatever it is.
We may see something about Kingdom Hearts 4. I would. So we're talking wish list right now, and so there are two games that immediately go to my wish list of either remake or remaster or a sequel to, and that is Parasite Eve and Vagrant Story. Those are the two that I always say.
Story, yeah.
Those are games that I very much loved growing up, but I would love to see some kind of sequel to and or remaster or remake of. And Vagrant Story, by the way, has one of the most convoluted weapon systems in the entire world. But when you get into it, it's actually kind of fun.
There we go. Dead Space. Dead Space would be one that I would love to see E3 kind of show up with a new Dead Space.
I'm actually so the remake's probably going to get shown. I hate to burst your bubble there. Like they've already been working on the remake. We make a new trailer for it.
What was that game that showed off at the State of Play that was done by the developers?
Yeah, Callisto.
Which is not a PlayStation exclusive, folks. Just want to put that out there. It is a multi-platform game, but
but Callisto is actually created by the people who made Dead Space because they didn't have the rights to it anymore. So either way, we're getting some kind of Dead Space content.
So go check out the trailer or the news for Callisto if you're in the mood for Dead Space and all of that.
Yep.
Man, there's just I don't know. I would love if we were talking about like resurrection / things that would surprise the crap out of me.
Wish list,
I would love things like more if Capcom out of the nowhere was like, hey, we're bringing back maybe remasters of Lost Planet.
Oh, that'd be fun. I never got to play those games, but I heard good things.
Yeah, those are fun games. Those are fun. Shooters / alien vibes.
I want a proper sequel to Dante's Inferno.
Oh, okay.
That would be cool.
Something that has kind of come back into fashion recently through people on YouTube. They've been saying it's a much better game than people thought it was.
Oh yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah.
My favorite God of War game.
Any talks of maybe Sony doing a Morbius game?
Oh, come on. Do not be that person.
It's not Morbin.
We had a respectable show until you had to go and start memeing things.
I couldn't help it.
I watched that movie a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it.
That's all you can say about it. It's Morbid time. I had to bring it up only because I didn't have a show this week, and last week we had talked about the fact that it was coming back into theaters, only for it to make it $85,000 out of 1,000 theaters. And it again, it launched at a loss. Like it's just so sad. I don't understand. All right, folks, that's it. That's a wrap up. That is non-E3 week. We probably missed a ton there. The news out there for this non-E3 week, go check it out. It's all over the place. There are small publisher talks coming out of the blue starting tomorrow. I mean, we're getting Summer Game Fest tomorrow. Devolver's
if
tomorrow.
You want some talks about the Summer Game Fest, I know where you can go for that.
Yeah,
where would I go for something like that?
You can head over to Goodnight and Good Game. We are available on all podcast providers. We are available on Spotify. Goodnight and Good Game. If you can't find it there, GNGG Cast. And we are going to be doing a live show tomorrow. So we are at GNGG Cast on Twitch. And we will be doing the first part of a 2-part episode for Summer Game Fest. So we'll be covering everything that's been going up until this point on Thursday, tomorrow, and then next Thursday we will be covering everything that happened on Sunday, because Sunday is the big day. So we're going to be covering all of that stuff, all fact-based, all just what is actually happening and our opinions about what is going on.
Such a pro. You're such a pro, dude. You got this. You got this.
It's like
And,
we teed that up for him or something.
Yeah, man, you teed that up. And Cary, plug your show, plug your info, plug everything you need to plug.
Sure, you can find us all over the interwebs. We're at Metal Geeks on all the things. We're at metalgeeks.net, like my sister show, MSR Cast, where we cover all metal stuff. Metal Geeks is more heavy metal. It's a geeky viewpoint from the minds of heavy metal fans. So we talk about video games and comic books and movies, and we have one of our hosts. He's not a huge metal fan, so we always have George Hates Metal. We always fun segment. We have a lot of fun.
Opinion. I love that.
What a fun! That's fun being on a metal cast and not being a fan of metal. That's
he likes some stuff, but not like to the degree that the rest of my co-host and I enjoy. You know what I mean?
Is he into new metal, or is it new?
No.
New metal is old metal now. Like it's old.
Yeah.
Remember when new metal was a thing?
Remember they're trying to bring it back?
Guys, we're old enough to go. Remember when like this thing called emo was coming out? Like that's how old we are. And now we're just lining up for the Black Parade.
But yeah, we're recording. We're recording 2 new shows this Sunday. Actually, now I'll get to talk about the Xbox showcase on Metal Geeks. That'd be a lot of fun.
When does a new episode usually drop? Like, is it a specific day of the week?
No, well, usually on Saturdays, but I think this next week we're recording 2 different shows, so it's probably gonna be split during the week. Everybody, it's hard to get everybody's schedule. We're doing our first in-person recording since the pandemic started this week.
Wow.
I'm so excited.
Wow.
Usually we were doing.
I've actually been very fortunate. My co-host, we were people who kind of like sheltered in place together for all of it, and
nice.
We were very, very fortunate. A lot of people did not get that option because we actually worked together already, and yeah, it's a good feeling to be able to come back and see your people live. Which honestly, this has been absolutely fantastic. And I do want to mention, like, again, an absolute pleasure to be working with the both of y'all. 2 of my friends from different times in my life, and yet we are together all doing this thing. And I want to do this again, both virtually, and I would love to do it again in person, definitely.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something post E3 week after all of this announcement. I'd love to see everyone's takes or thoughts on what happened next week.
Love that.
We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll tell our fans maybe next week. Like, subscribe, share. Go check them out. Go check me out. I'm the midgeekcrisis.com. You can follow me on Twitter at mid_geek. I'm on Facebook. You can follow me at Mid-Geek Crisis on YouTube and Facebook as well. We have a small little community, the DMZ, on Facebook. Go join the group. We like to post random things there. Again, be kind, everyone. Like, subscribe, share. Go support your indie developers. Go support your indie game shop
and indie podcasters.
Your indie podcasters. Everyone involved, wherever you are, in getting your fix, your geek fix. Please go check it out. Again, everyone, another episode in the can. And in the words of Pedro, be kind, everyone. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.